I just watched President Biden's address to open up the NATO summit. And I have some questions for Republicans, for the media, for some creators out here, and of course for some Democrats. Assuming you watched that address, did you see a feeble man, a man who couldn't complete a sentence, a man who couldn't maintain a thought? Is that what you saw when you watched that address? Because if you did, I have to strongly disagree. What I saw was a very strong leader. What I saw was President of the United States being very clear and concise and pointed and very strong, talking about a very important topic, the topic of NATO. Now, a lot of you will say, well, he was just reading a speech. That doesn't count. Really, motherfucker? Is that what you think? Do you think a feeble man could stand up there in front of that crowd and give that speech if he was feeble? Couldn't complete a sentence. Again, I beg to differ. And if you're unsure of that, let's take a little imaginary trip. Let's replace Joe Biden in that moment in time and replace him with Donald Trump. How might that speech have gone? Well, it would have gone off on tangents. They would have talked about shit. Nobody knew what he was talking about. He would be self-promoting himself and his ideology, and it would have been a complete shit show. If you put each candidate in that same position, who would win out? Well, clearly, Joe Biden would. Now, the idea that Donald Trump would stand in front of NATO is kind of silly, because Donald Trump wants to do away with NATO. Again, the most important alliance in the history of the world. NATO has saved countries, NATO has saved people, and NATO has kept murderous dictators at bay. Murderous dictators like Vladimir Putin, like Donald Trump's best buddy. Donald Trump wants to do away with NATO because Vladimir Putin told him to do it. And Donald Trump is little more than a useful fucking idiot. We need to stop talking about Joe's ability to speak. He clearly can do it. He did it today. What we need to do is focus on the important things, and that is the threat to democracy and the threat to world peace. So shut the fuck up. Let's start dealing with important issues and stop being whiny little fucking bitches.